Back in the 1970s, I carried on a course. This was back when you type letter on an IBM Selectric typewriter. I remember. In fact, I remember when they came out with the little, hey, you can white out, the key. Anyhow, I had this letter correspondence with a fellow by the name of John Goffman, who at the time was the head of the Union of Concerned Scientists, about nuclear safety, nuclear power. I lived in Michigan. We'd almost seen Fermi go down in Detroit. I used to vacation when I was a little kid. I mean, like when I was 5 and 6 up in Charlevoix, there was this hot water stream that came out of the something point nuclear reactor in Charlevoix. My brothers and I used to sit in the warm water and think that was so cool as it went down into Lake Michigan. We later learned that it was a radioactive water leak, and they shut down the nuclear power plant. I probably glow in the dark. I don't know. But the Union of Concerned Scientists is still doing brilliant work. And to this day, I mean, that was back in the 60s and 70s. And now here, the director of the Nuclear Safety Project at the Union of Concerned Scientists Global Security Program, a nuclear engineer, and the author of the report released today titled U.S. Nuclear Power Plants, the NRC and Nuclear Power Plant Safety in 2011, Living on Borrowed Time. David Lochbaum is with us. You can read all about it, by the way, at UCS, as in Union Concerned Scientists, USA.org. David, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm honored to have you with us. You said March 11 marks the one-year anniversary of the Fukushima nuclear disaster. That's just almost 2 weeks from now, or thereabouts. What have we learned since then, and what do we know about America's vulnerability to Fukushima-like events?
Well, I think the events at Fukushima, as the previous events at Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island and Fermi 1 that you mentioned, showed us that nuclear disasters can occur. Fortunately, they're pretty rare, but they do, in fact, occur from time to time. I think what our last 2 annual reports have shown is that we've had a number of near misses, perhaps more near misses than we should have had. And if we don't learn the lessons from those near misses, we're going to tolerate pre-existing conditions that can make it more likely for the next nuclear disaster to occur.
And, for example?
Well, last year there were 15 near misses at U.S. nuclear power reactors. That's an average of more than 1 a month.
Now, what do you describe as a near miss? What is a near miss?
A near miss is when the Nuclear Regulatory Commission sends out a team to investigate why an event occurred or why a discovery was made. They send out these teams when that discovery or that event increases the risk of core damage or meltdown by a factor of 10 or more.
Wow.
So it's not an arbitrary decision of ours. None of those events led to that outcome, but too many steps were taken down that path. We need to reduce the number of times we start down that road and also limit how many steps we take along it.
John Goffman once wrote to me, actually, that there is no such thing as a safe level of nuclear exposure, radiation exposure, and that it's my recollection. It's been a lot of years, but I think he said something like, safe nuclear power is an oxymoron. Are those sentiments with which you would agree?
I would agree with the first. There is no safe level of radiation. What you can do is try to minimize your exposure or workers or public exposure so that that risk is no greater than from other hazards that we face in life. The second phase is there's also no free lunch. There is no damage-free or risk-free way of producing electricity. My view is that if we manage the risk of nuclear power appropriately, we can manage that risk down to an acceptably low level. We're not advocating taking nuclear power plants out of the game or off the table, but just enforcing the regulations so that their risks are no larger than they need to be.
Yeah, I would respectfully, strongly disagree with that. I mean, just the poisoning of communities from uranium mining tailings, and the questions about what we're going to do with waste. And this whole issue, particularly when we've got so much sunlight falling on the United States, we could easily power our entire country with solar, and the technology is to the point where it's cheaper than anything is cheaper than nuclear. I mean, without Price Anderson, without all of us subsidizing the nuclear industry, it wouldn't even exist.
Well, I think you point to something. It was about 50 years ago where anybody on the planet first used nuclear power to generate electricity. It was in December of 1952 in Arco, Idaho. And in that time, we've gone from 4 light bulbs in Idaho to more than 400 nuclear power plants worldwide. If we look forward the next generation or two, we believe that renewable technologies and energy efficiency can make the same gains that nuclear power did in the past 2 generations. If so, then nuclear power wouldn't be needed, as coal-fired plants wouldn't be needed either.
Right.
So that would be our future if we could divine a path. But
right.
in the interim, we want the existing plants to be made as safe as possible.
Well, I understand that, and I understand you're taking a somewhat centrist viewpoint. It probably, if nothing else, works better when you're presenting information to politicians, not to have a chip on your shoulder like I do. Is the biggest deal here, though, that our infrastructure is falling apart all across the United States, and our nuclear plants are part of that infrastructure that really isn't getting the maintenance that it needs, and that nuclear plants, because they're exposed, or at least parts of them are exposed to so much radiation, tend to fall apart faster than things like hospitals and schools and apartment buildings, which in many cases in the United States are 60, 80, 100 years old. A nuclear power plant probably couldn't do that.
Well, you're right. I mean, if you look at today's 104 nuclear power reactors, they're all approaching, if not already in, the wear-out phase of their life where the risk goes up. There's some talk about building new nuclear power plants, but that puts new plants down in the break-in phase or the infant mortality phase where the risk is also higher. You can't put a nuclear power plant down in middle life where its risk is lowest. Mm-hmm. Recognizing that, what we think is that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission needs to be an aggressive nuclear cop on the beat, not this Laura and Hardy, Sergeant Schultz guy that we've got at the moment.
Yeah. Is the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, are all of the members appointed by the president? I mean, what's the composition of that?
There are 5 presidentially appointed commissioners, no more than 3 can come from the same political party. So we have roughly an even split. It's 3-2. I can't remember if there's more Republicans or more Democrats, but they serve 5-year terms on a rotating basis so that every June 30th, one of the commissioner seats is up for renewal. Mm-hmm. The rest of the staff of 4,000 people are government employees who work for those presidential appointees.
To what extent has the NRC experienced regulatory capture where the nuclear industry, everybody in the NRC knows that they've got a really, really good job with the industry after they leave if they just make the right decisions, that kind of thing. We see this in the Defense Department big time, the revolving door. You see it in the Department of Agriculture and in those areas that have regulatory oversight. You see it in the FDA in those areas that have regulatory oversight. To what extent has that happened in the NRC?
I'm probably not the best person to throw that stone because I went through that revolving door myself. I went to work for the NRC 3 years ago and then came back to UCS. So I'm not the best. But what we have seen is that the United States Congress sets the NRC's budget every year. Right. And the United States Congress gets a lot of money from political action committees, the power companies, and that congressional control. In 1998, Congress told the NRC to stop enforcing regulations or we'll cut your budget by 40%.
Really?
Yeah.
Stop enforcing existing regulations?
Yep. Or we'll cut your budget by 40%.
What year was this? Congress said this to them?
June 4th, 1998.
Wow.
I remember that very vividly because that's the day the NRC stopped even pretending to be an aggressive regulator.
Now, was that, which body of Congress said that and which party was in control, if you don't mind my asking?
It was the Republicans were in control. It was the Senate Appropriations Committee headed by then Senator Domenici from New Mexico, and he's written a book since then after he retired from the Senate. The nuclear industry calls him St. Pete.
St. Pete. Oh, my. Okay. David Lochbaum, the Union of Concerned Scientists, UCSUSA.org is their website. I strongly commend it to you. Check it out. David, the Director of Nuclear Safety Project and an actual nuclear engineer. David, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Tom.
And thanks for this great report. The NRC and Nuclear Power Safety in 2011, Living on Borrowed Time.